You can't or won't answer our questions, or maybe you're ignoring me right now as I'm speaking to you. You can or won't answer questions about whether or not the federal government funds sex change surgery on kids. Some on the left are calling that gender-affirming care. Quite frankly, it's worse than that. There's no scientific data to support it. And just because someone doesn't agree with chopping off the private parts of a 15-year-old doesn't mean we are bullying children. I find it ridiculous. Do whatever you want to do as an adult, but by God, don't do it to our kids. And I find it offensive that my colleagues on the other side of the aisle are calling us bullies because we don't want to chop off the breasts of a 15-year-old girl, and we certainly don't want the federal government funding it. You can or won't answer questions on how many federal employees work from home. You are the director of the Office of Personnel Management. I don't know how. You don't know the answer to this question. You have obfuscated today. You can't even tell us the most basic data about how many federal employees worked from home before COVID, during COVID, and now after COVID. Like, why are you here if you can't even answer our questions? You can answer questions all day long related to DEI, but you hide behind you won't answer our questions about bargaining agreements. You just hide behind them and won't answer those questions. Do you know what happens when you have a job in the private sector and you don't show up? What happens?
Congresswoman, I don't quite understand the question.
You're the director of the Office of Personnel Management, and you don't know in the private sector if you don't show up to work, you know what happens? You get fired. Like, how do you oversee federal employees, and you can't even answer the simplest, most basic questions here today? Like, why are you here if you can't answer our questions? Why are you here if you can't or won't answer our questions?
Congresswoman, I am trying my best to...
You're not. You're obfuscating. You're filibustering. You're refusing to answer the most basic of questions that the taxpayers, quite frankly, on both sides of the aisle, deserve to hear. Federal employees are not showing up to work. That is a fact. You're physically here today, but you are not actually showing up to work because you're not answering any of our questions. So I would like to know, my second question, why the director of the Office of Personnel Management doesn't know what's happening with federal employees.
Well, Congresswoman, I do take issue with that characterization. I've shared a lot today on our guidance, our processes, how we're supporting agencies, whether it's telework, remote work, the benefits.
You haven't. Do you think the American taxpayers who sign the front of your paycheck, do you think that they deserve answers?
We serve
Do you think
the
they
American
deserve to
public,
know how many
Congresswoman.
people aren't showing up to work? Do the American taxpayers deserve to know that answer?
Well, Congresswoman, our employees show up every day, and
They don't. They absolutely do not. And there's data showing that and supporting that. We've mentioned that data today, and you've ignored it. And in fact, you're not telling the truth.
All right, guys, look, this is just one of many examples of one of these Biden administration stooges not able to answer basically basic questions about how many people are showing up to work, who's employed, et cetera, et cetera. And this is more an example of federal bloat than anything else. So your and my taxpayer dollars are going, and mine, I just paid a tax bill, and let me tell you something, it wasn't cute, all right? And so we're literally talking about millions, if not billions of dollars of United States taxpayer money that is going to idiots like this that cannot answer basic questions when they are called to answer questions like this. And this is what happens. These not government programs, but these sort of government entities become created, and then all of a sudden they just don't go away. And what Biden administration and the leftists and the liberals, what they want is more and more and more of these government programs so that your and my taxpayer dollars can go to pay idiots like this that cannot even answer basic questions about who is or isn't showing up to work, who is or isn't employed. And it's all completely ridiculous. But I'm telling you, This is not going to end until there's somebody in DC that has the stones to put an end to all of this stuff. I have no idea who that person is or if it's ever going to happen ever in this country because DC is so entrenched, but it's not going to stop until somebody goes to DC and ends it.